hybrid working has us all questioning if that meeting could have just been an email. But what if you ensured that your next meeting was a one-of-a-kind experience that injected innovation, value, and increased engagement? Well, my guest Kanishka Desai joins me on this episode to share the experiential platform he's created to bring more positive, inspiring, and impactful experiences. His company, Qooley, works with creatives and artists to introduce creativity, gamification, and play into experiences, including corporate and company meetings. Hi, Kanishka. How are you? It's so great to have you on the podcast.
Thank you, Angela. Thanks for having me. It's great to be here as well.
Well, Kanishka, you and I have been connected for a little while because, and I want you to talk a little bit more about yourself and your company called Qooley, which you'll tell the listeners all about. But really today is around, we're in this place right now, 2020, now 2021, where the opportunity to create more 3D experiences through a screen is really important, right? A lot of people are working from home. We've got hybrid working. And so what I'm starting to see is a lot of companies, a lot of organizations, a lot of teams are starting to think about how can I create an experience through a screen, which is something, it's always been a question, but now it's becoming a part of our everyday working environment. So that's kind of the premise behind the podcast, but I initially want to let you introduce yourself and your company and tell us more about yourself.
Yeah, thank you, Angela. Yep. So hey guys, my name is Kanishka Desai, and I'm the co-founder of Qooley. So Qooley is a company that provides artists, all types of artists, comedians, magicians, musicians, improv artists for mainly corporate events. And we kind of found our way through, testing, a lot of testing and trying different things. And we ended up in this space very recently, actually. To be honest, in the middle of the pandemic. And, but we noticed a huge need, a huge gap in this field with corporate events where, as you mentioned, corporations basically trying to adapt to this new medium of working. And with most corporations having their teams working remotely and trying to figure out a solution for keeping their employees more engaged and continuing to maintain that employee experience that they may have worked on really hard pre-pandemic, and how do we do that? And so we kind of, fit the gap very well. And we've done many types of events as of now. We've done virtual get-togethers, like virtual happy hours. We've done awards and recognition events. We've done office parties, holiday parties. We've done celebrations like retirement roasts and other types of celebrations. But so I think that there is a sort of huge need in more and more companies trying to bring some creative solutions to figure out how to maintain their employee experience, as they call it, in this new world that we are still in the middle of, I think. And I think that some of the things that have changed are here to stay. Most, even tech companies right now are talking about finally maybe getting back into the office towards the end of this year. This is a, area in which we're also kind of trying to grow and test and, get better as we kind of learn more and more about what's going on and what some of the trends that are happening. But as of now, it seems like, even if people start going back to work, it's going to be more of a hybrid sort of scenario where majority of the time people have the flexibility to work from home, but there are maybe some certain times when potential brainstorming events or maybe a big team meeting where people might come in, and so but even for those types of events, then there's always a need for entertainment or a need for some sort of ability for people to come together and create a memorable experience. And so that's where, again, we could provide, that type of, those types of experiences.
Yeah, so it's not just about creating online events, but actually, I think making events more human in a way, right? Because everyone can complain about a boring meeting, but when you have a strategy meeting, I think there's the great blend here is the creativity injection.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it was a live event, you know, having that creative piece to get ideas flowing and innovation moving.
Yeah, you bring up a really good point, and you nailed it when you said keep innovation moving. That's the key, right? And you know, there's been numerous studies, and we know that in order for our sort of productive, logical brain, and you know, people make a big deal about, you know, productivity, right? But in order to keep our innovative, I guess, logical brain going, we also need to feed our emotional brains, and that emotional brain includes the sort of humanity, the human side of things, the connection side of things, and you know, feeling like you are a part of this company, having those strong connection and strong bond that you feel when you're working towards a goal, right? And that side has really taken a toll with remote work, or I guess forced remote work. And there's always some people that would always prefer remote work, but this type of forced remote work where you know, people who actually really liked coming to the office, and you know, even if it's just for the gossip side of things, you know, that also, it's been, you know, it's been, I guess by now well recognized that even that adds to that employee experience in a positive way. And you know, yeah, so you nailed it when you said that, you know, in order to keep the innovation going, you also have to bring in the human aspect and the sort of you know, that happiness factor. But the happiness factor ties to the overall employee experience, is you know, how the employee feels about what they're doing, how strongly are they connected with the goals of the company, and to feed that is what we're trying to do. So when we bring in these types of unique experiences, you know, our company's mission is to bring positive, inspiring, and impactful experiences, and that's what we you know, have been trying to do for the past 4 years or so. Now, you asked me to kind of introduce our company, you know, earlier, and so I think a brief kind of history of it. We were actually in the experiences space. We've been in the experiences space for the past 4 years, but initially we were trying to bring in live experiences, of course, pre-pandemic, in all types of different categories, more to bring to light certain neighborhoods and certain locals who could offer unique experiences. But then, of course, with the pandemic, we focused on more virtual experiences, and then we kind of found our way into the corporate events sector. And so, but I think that it fits really well because, you know, we have a set of creative experts on our platform, and here we have a need where, you know, bringing in creative, you know, experiences and positive, unique experiences to sort of help with you know, employee engagement and the overall employee experience is you know, what we're all trying to figure out.
Yeah, and I think it's really crucial because I mean, you talked about some data around innovation and, you know, using the different parts of the brain, and it's not just productivity, but the actual creation of ideas and the inspiration.
Mm-hmm.
One of the on our last season's episode, I had some folks on from Qualtrics. So Qualtrics is an experience platform, and they did a report recently around what are the new trends around employee experience.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things they identified is a sense of belonging.
Yep.
So, you know, before, the top trends were like, you know, am I being communicated to? Do I trust leadership and the strategic direction? And now belonging is rising to the top. And so when I think about belonging, I also think about connection, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
having authentic connections, and I think your solution certainly, and your idea, I mean, this is a fantastic idea because it injects that into an event that might have been like a 4-hour sit down presentation PowerPoint into like speaking to the hearts and the minds of people and making people feel like they have a sense of belonging and connection with the community or whatever organization, you know, they're working with.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree. The sense of belonging, you know, and I think that pre-pandemic we were comparing ourselves to Airbnb, and I think that's one of their taglines is, you know, belong anywhere. And I think that's, you know, with their experiences platform, you know, that's what they're trying to bring to light as well. And so I think that it's a very important, you know, it's a very important like mission to have. How do we create a sense of belonging? And now we're kind of moving that to the employee environment. And the same kind of things apply. Is how do we bring in ways to enhance that sense of belonging by improving their overall experience. And one of the unique things that what we're trying to do is have a really strong side of really talented artists, and specifically improv artists. And we're really focusing on that because when you think of improv artists, we think of people who are naturally, I guess, they've kind of trained their creative brain, or they're naturally creative. But that's what they do for a living, is to try to come up with ways to make people laugh or solve problems, or they're basically trained in that. And so bringing improv artists into certain types of workplace brainstorming sessions, or innovation sort of challenges, and meetings where, like you said, people might need to kind of come together to put their sit down and kind of put their brains together for maybe hours and hours. And one thing that we're kind of experimenting with right now is, what if we were to bring in an improv artist to help speed up that process, even if it's virtually, right? Bring people together virtually. And there's a two-part, I guess, thing to this, is that one side is that, of course, the improv artist can help bring creativity to that problem-solving meeting. The other side is that the improv artist can actually help with team building, because even the ability to teach people certain skills and then having them work together to solve a common problem will enhance team building. And so that's something that we're actually really keen on experimenting. But
I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, but I think certain other examples that that come to mind when you mentioned, like, these 3-4 hour presentation meetings are your onboarding meetings, your onboarding trainings, and just regular employee training events. And I think that bringing in talented artists to convey that same message, but not using a PowerPoint, and maybe make it shorter instead of making it 4 hours, convey that message through gamification and through creative sort of expression, will I think be a great way to sort of enhance these meetings, especially if they're over Zoom, because in-person meetings are one thing, but these types of PowerPoint, like that's by PowerPoint meetings by Zoom, I think we're gonna see a lot of like negative reviews by employees. And so that's one thing that we can also really try to look into.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm just curious, because you seem very experienced in this space of like innovation and design. And what's your background?
Yeah, thanks. So my background is I'm a chemical engineer by profession. So I went to school for chemical engineering, but then I started working in IT. I actually ended up being recruited by a company called Monsanto, which is now Bayer, got bought out by Bayer, headquartered in St. Louis. But they are one of the pioneers of like agricultural genetic engineering. And it's a innovative, their basis was innovation. How do we solve some of the common problems with agriculture, whether it's pest related issues, or just being able to grow more, basically enhance growth conditions. But so I used to work in their IT division, and I guess that's kind of where I learned a lot about maybe product design and product development and the whole cycle. And then I went ahead and did my master's in bioinformatics, but the bioinformatics is more solving biological problems, but using informatics, so using computer science. And so that's where I guess I have a little bit of my technical background from. But then, as I mentioned, Qooley, when we first started it, it was really inspired from myself and my co-founder's travels. And we took several international trips together, just because it was that time in our mid-20s when we had just gotten done with our schooling, and we had this yearning to go explore the world. And but the way we kind of traveled, we realized that we kind of had this early vision of enhancing the experiential travel. So how do we bring unique experiences again to travel? And this was before Airbnb experiences or some of the other apps that are out there. That also try to provide this very sort of experiential travel in a very, very good way. I mean, there's a few really good apps out there now that connect people with really knowledgeable locals, for example, who can host different experiences. And that was the early vision for Qooley. But then, of course, as we sort of started the journey, we realized a lot of things, and we had lots of different ideas, and then we kind of had this idea of highlighting unique neighborhoods within different cities, so that it's not just for travelers, but also people who want to explore art and culture, for example, in a unique neighborhood that they don't usually frequently go to. Let's talk about Chicago just for a second. I mean, it's such a big city with so many really unique neighborhoods, and with a unique sort of culture and background to them, with different sort of immigrant, history to them, that we can really highlight and bring to light certain neighborhoods that people don't usually go to or know about. So that eventually then transitioned into bringing on artists and highlighting the cultural aspects of different neighborhoods. So we had different types of local experts, musicians, comedians, other types of artists on our platform, and then that slowly then transitioned, of course, thanks to the pandemic, into virtual experiences. But that's sort of our where what our history is, and I guess how my experience kind of tied into that.
That's awesome. Yeah, I just listening to you talk, I'm like, there's innovation, there's design in there. I just know it because the way you structure, I think, the experience from a user perspective, and then culturally, right? I mean, you're talking about like the culture in Chicago, for example, but bringing some of that to life, bring it back to the corporate culture or organization's culture, it reflects it. And again, that's where belonging comes from, is when you feel like you can be yourself and you feel like you can connect with something or someone. So Kanishka, thank you so much for joining. Thank you for sharing your insights. I think your experience and your perspective is fantastic, and I think this is a really timely topic. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks, Angela. Thanks for having me. And looking forward to coming on again. Thank you.